Yo, what's happening, guys? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review, and hey, Microsoft had a pretty dang good E3. So I'm recording this video a couple of hours after Microsoft's 2018 E3 press conference concluded, and man, like I just said, they had a really good show. I think a lot of us are pretty surprised how Microsoft truly came to bring it this year. And I have to say, this is kind of what I theorized they might be doing. A couple weeks ago, I discussed whether or not the scenario for Microsoft, and more for the Xbox brand, I should say, not for Microsoft, was sort of in like a do-or-die situation going into E3, because we've seen waning console sales and lack of exclusives and quality content, except for like third-party multi-platform games coming to the Xbox One, and it seemed like the Xbox One X, kind of landed without a splash and wasn't making an impact in the game industry or in Microsoft's business. And it was just very weird and very strange, and it's like, what's happening with the Xbox brand? They were so powerful not even 10 years ago. And so going into E3, it's like, man, they have to understand how important this situation is and how E3 could represent sort of a shifting tide for them, and they can really stake a strong claim and just put their flag on the ground and say, hey, we're here to stay. We're here to show you we do care about the Xbox brand. We do care about this console video game space. And we're going to show you why with all of this great content. And it was because of that situation that I theorized that with their move away from the E3 press conference into their own place to do it, that maybe they were planning on really having a spectacular show and showing us a bunch of surprise games, some first-party stuff, some exclusive stuff, whatever else they wanted to do, bring cars on stage, the things they've done in the past. And I was like, it could fall apart and they might show us they're stepping away from the business, or they could just dive in headfirst and show us that, hey, we're really here to stay. And that's basically what happened today, and I'm thrilled about it. I mean, you guys know I'm a lover of Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft in that order, so Microsoft would be my third favorite of the three console manufacturers, but I like Microsoft. I love the Xbox brand because it's just an option to play video games on. I think the Xbox One is a very well-made machine. I actually love the machine. I just haven't had great games to play on it for like coming up on 2 years for the most part. So seeing them really show that they had quality content and software to bring and had an energetic, positive, upbeat, very well-paced show, it was awesome, man. I'm so happy to see this. I don't want anyone to just flounder and suck completely and leave the industry. I'm happy with a Nintendo, a Sony, and a Microsoft three-player console race. I'm happy with that. Atari is its own little weird... We're not even going to talk about Atari. So I really didn't want to spend most of this video talking about necessarily their conference and what they showed. There's a different topic I'm going to get into that I'm sure the title of the video will explain. But to give a quick kind of brief summary of what happened, they just had a bunch of great games. I mean, the fact that games like Gears of War were present, Tomb Raider was present, Ori and the Will of the Wisps showed up, which is fantastic, 2019, oh my god, cannot wait. So glad that that was present. They opened with the almighty Halo, which I was like screaming and so excited when I realized that that trailer was Halo, and it's like, oh my gosh, Halo Infinite, like what the heck? Like, I wasn't sure if it was Halo 6, but they basically have since confirmed it is. I guess they're just not including the number, which kind of bothers me, but it doesn't really matter. But it's like weird, like what is going on? They almost had nothing to show, just like a 2-minute CG thing, and then the name, and that was it. Like, I cannot believe that they're not ready to actually show us the next Halo game. So that part's sad, but yo, they opened with Halo. It was so great to have Master Chief and just the Halo music present on stage again. Very, very excited about that. Tons of third-party stuff. Lots of Japanese support, which is very cool to see, too. So props to Microsoft. They're trying really hard to do that. Kingdom Hearts 3, confirmed to be coming to the Xbox One. Nier Automata is coming to it. 100 other things. That Jump Force, amazing-looking game with all the anime characters. Like, oh my god. So, long story short, they just had a lot of great software, a lot of content. Like I said, a very well-paced show. Phil Spencer was on point. The speakers, for the most part, were fine. It was the polar opposite of EA's complete debacle yesterday, and so that part just feels great. But the one main thing I wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking with you guys about today was near the end of the presentation when Phil Spencer took the stage again and had this great sort of 2 or 3 minute monologue little speech about sort of like the mission statement and the vision of Microsoft and the Xbox brand and what he and the team at Xbox are trying to do. And the short version is he basically confirmed Microsoft as a company is doubling down on the Xbox brand, which means they're doubling down on the console video game space. This to me was one of the biggest pieces of news from the show. Maybe not for everybody, but for me, I took that away as a huge claim by the company and a huge claim by Phil. And like I said, a great thing. As I already mentioned earlier in the video here, I don't want Microsoft or any company to fail so miserably that they have to leave the industry. That's not interesting to me. What is interesting to me is to see a company say, we are devoted to this, we are sticking to it. Now you've seen 2 hours of a huge array and smattering of games, many of them exclusive, maybe not enough exclusives, but they did have some great world premieres, which is cool. And you know, having third-party content does matter, so I don't want to take away the third-party content situation. Here's the thing that's happening, though, and I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing. It's just sort of my own observation as a gamer for 30 years and somebody who's seen Microsoft enter the industry and how they've played out over 3 console generations now. What happened today, and what I think Microsoft and Phil Spencer are doing, is essentially buying their success a little bit. Or I shouldn't even say success, but they're buying their time in the industry in a different way than I think Sony and Nintendo are doing. And I think that this was true even when they entered the space back in 2001 with the Xbox and they couldn't get it off the ground for so long, but Microsoft had so much money and Halo itself was such a successful sole game that basically they could keep themselves afloat without hemorrhaging money as a company, and so Xbox was able to stay relevant until the 360 just took off like crazy. And I think that we're sort of seeing something similar happen here. Phil Spencer even said it in his little speech near the end where he's like, I cannot remember his phrasing, so I'm going to paraphrase, but he basically said, with the manpower and resources available to Microsoft, the company, we are dedicated to bringing you generations and years and decades of the Xbox name and future games for the Xbox. Again, that is a huge paraphrasing, but he definitely had some sort of reference to like the almost infinite amount of monetary resources that Microsoft has, which is the company that owns the Xbox brand. So it's not about the money that the Xbox brand is bringing into its own kind of division. It's that the parent company, Microsoft, has more money than God, and no matter what the Xbox does, whether it's successful or the most miserable failure ever, whatever, as long as the Microsoft entity is willing to keep putting the money into the Xbox name, that Xbox is going to be around forever, that they're here to stay because they have the money to back them. And again, that's not a great or a bad thing. It's not like a good thing either, because it means it's not about the Xbox creating its own success. It's about the fact that it is essentially, a lot of business savvy folks will understand this phrase, it's that they are too big to fail. That is essentially what Phil Spencer, I think, was saying at the end in a very gamer E3 presentation friendly kind of way. And it's, in a way, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it is what it is. Business is business, and Microsoft is successful, so they're allowed to throw that money around however they want. And if they choose to support the Xbox brand, whether it's successful or not successful in its own right, that's fine, man. That's how companies work, and they've earned the right to be able to do that if that's where they are comfortable putting their money. And so, luckily, you know, I don't want to paint this picture, by the way, that the Xbox brand is a colossal failure with the Xbox One. It's just not to the level of success the 360 was, and they're also getting their butts handed to them by Sony. So that's kind of where that comes from. But the Xbox One, like I said, it's a great machine. It's done all right in sales. I'm sure it's somewhere over 40 million units sold, and they do have some amazing games on the console. And so the other huge piece of information that really kind of more confirms this to me is in the middle of the conference when Phil Spencer all of a sudden started listing off all of these studios that Microsoft has outright purchased. We now own XYZ Studio, including Ninja Theory, which was a huge get for them. I was shocked. Most people were shocked. The reaction there was huge. There was a couple of other ones. They basically said we created our own brand new internal studio. The Initiative, I think it was called. The other Playground Games one, which I think is responsible for Forza or something. I don't know. I wasn't familiar really with most of the other ones that I can't remember off the top of my head. The ones behind We Happy Few, they purchased that company. So like 5 new studios. I think they purchased 5 and then they created 1 or something. And it's like, that's great news. Like, I'm not going to say that's bad. I'm actually very happy for Microsoft. These are smart moves to make. You see talent, you work with talent, you work to secure that talent, and they've secured talent to back up the Xbox brand. This is stuff we're probably not going to see the fruits of for years to come. I mean, this is probably a lot of what these teams are going to be working on to support the Xbox brand. We're going to see what they're doing in the next, like, probably 3 or 4 years, by the time the next Xbox is coming around. which Phil did confirm at the end, we are working on the next generation of Xbox hardware. So we will get an Xbox 4, Xbox 2, Xbox 720, whatever it's going to be called. The successor to the Xbox One brand will be getting its own successor. So that's going to be happening. And so with these studios, it's like, well, we're just securing this talent. You know, in the next couple of years, you'll see the games that they're working on. And like, it's crazy. And it's just basically saying, hey, we're Microsoft. We've got the money. We can flaunt this money. So no matter what the Xbox does, we're going to keep supporting it and creating new Xbox generations. And we're just going to buy studios and just make them make games just for us because we have the money to pay them to make games only for the Xbox. So this is all crazy stuff, man. This is big moves. These are big boy moves, man. This is like hard business, doing hard business. And it's interesting. I found it very fascinating that that's what happened. And I have to say, luckily, two of my bandmates, we had to work on some music in the studio this morning before the show started, and I was going to come home and actually watch it alone at home here in this room, but we ended up watching it together actually at my buddy's apartment. So luckily I got to watch the whole conference with two of my best friends, which I didn't plan on doing for any of the conferences this year. So it was great for us to watch it as a group, as the three of us, just kind of BS, having some food and just kind of, you know, just talking through the whole thing. And when that happened, I was like really excited to be like, oh my God, you guys, what this means is this. Basically everything I've laid out in this video, like they're doubling down on the Xbox, man. This is incredible. I thought it was really, really fascinating. So, you know, at the end of the day, I find it to be great news. And it really comes down to Microsoft had a great show. We saw a lot of great games. We saw a couple of killer exclusives. We saw a lot of world premieres. Freaking Cyberpunk 2077 showed up. I couldn't believe it. My buddy was so excited because he loves The Witcher and has been very excited to see what CD Projekt Red has been doing. And so it was great to see that as their kind of last stinger, like their one more thing moment. You know, and I mean, hey, Xbox is doing okay, man. That's a good thing to say. It feels good to be able to say that. Phil did great. Microsoft did great. The Xbox is looking hot. So many great games. And we can look forward to more Xbox, man. They're not tucking their tail between their legs and running away. They're not like, hey, we tried, we failed, we can't compete with Sony and Nintendo. We got to just get out of this industry because the Xbox One didn't do so well. They're like, nope. We've got the money, we have the talent and resources, so we're just going to make sure with our money and our zeal and our gusto, we're going to keep ourselves afloat. We're making a new Xbox, and we're going to make more Xboxes after that. We ain't going anywhere. And I thought it was really cool to see them double down and say, yo, we're here to stay, and just, you know, that's what we're doing. I thought that was really cool. So anyway, that's the main takeaway for me. I would have liked to talk more games stuff, but I spent a lot of time talking game stuff with my Nintendo thing, my E3 wrap-up, and videos in the last couple of weeks. I kind of enjoyed having a video to just sort of talk about the business side, because this huge piece of business move news to me came out of Microsoft's conference, and I thought it was really cool. So what do you guys think? Did you take this away from their conference as well? Do you think that my theory about what Microsoft is doing, kind of doubling down on the Xbox brand, do you think it holds true? Do you believe in it and agree in it? Do you think maybe I'm looking too deep into it, or you didn't really get that feeling from what happened today at Microsoft's conference? Talk about it below. All opinions are welcome here as always, and that is it for me. Thanks as always for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Ro2R Review, and I'll catch you next time on another E3 video.